that's on the screen right now. Well, I suppose not everything, because that might take several hours. But some of the stuff that people should be looking for in this brand new forge.
Okay. I mean, so this map I built is, I mean, again, it's just kind of to show off stuff, but it's built on our Glacier canvas, which is one of our big 3 forge canvases that we have, and there's 3 different times of days in here. And then additionally, we have the other forge canvas we'd consider as a canvas is the breakout map, but it doesn't have the times of days. But that one's really specific for building kind of breakout arenas. But yeah, so I love this map. It's really big. It has a lot of different areas to work in. So what I wanted to start off with is kind of just showing like a lot of the core things that change. So we have a whole control helper, which you can see on the upper left, that we put in to kind of take people that are new to Forge and also people that are like old Forge veterans to kind of walk them through how our new controls work and stuff. So we always had this kind of fluid movement in Forge, and so we really wanted to move that into all parts of our building rather than just kind of like locking onto objects and just single focused. So what we're going to do here is I'm going to take this little piece of the map that I kind of worked on. So I kind of built a little base with some natural terrain and little punk rock snowman right there. With grenades.
I was going to ask, this guy's fantastic.
Yeah, he's
really
fun.
cool.
So, so what we're going to do is we're going to kind of now, how would I take this and start to kind of dupe out the second half of the map? And so first thing I can do is I can just start selecting pieces. So I can just hit the bumper to select a piece, the right bumper, and just keep selecting pieces, or I can hold it down and do what we call paint selection. So now I can just keep holding down. We had this mentality with our controls where we wanted it to be like, if you think about typing, right, if you type correctly, you keep your hands in what they call the home position, right? And so this, my hands don't have to move off of the comfortable position that you play Halo. So basically, I just selected everything in that map, which is fluidly editing things. And if I accidentally, like, you know, maybe I grab the trees and I don't want to dupe those, I can just toggle it again, and it will turn it off so it's not selected. Or I can hit the left bumper and basically drop everything. But so now I've got like my terrain selected here. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to group this. And so now it will behave essentially as one object. And so when I duplicate it, oops, I kind of shoved myself into the middle of it there. Let me fly up a little bit higher. So I'm out of the way. And so there are things even to make it feel like the old Halo. So like I can click onto an object and lock onto it and rotate the camera around.
Oh, nice.
Which is just to kind of make like the old initiated kind of feel comfortable inside of here. So now what we have is kind of modal-based or shift-based kind of selection or movement mechanisms and stuff like that. So if I hold down my right trigger, I can now rotate it, and I have it on rotational snaps of 90 degrees. Oops, I kind of did that in a very weird way. Let's flip that back over. So if I flip it, it's harder to see from here.
180.
There you go, 180. There we go. So now I flipped this whole piece around 180, and you can see here that the terrain, the projection terrain.
Let's talk about that projected terrain, because we've shown, I think, a little bit in the GameSpot video, and we kind of talked about it, but I think this is the first time we can actually show it
live.
Yeah, the terrain is probably in my opinion, it's one of my favorite features that we have.
Yeah, so I can like blend it in as I move around, and then I want to keep this up so it kind of matches with the other piece that I built. But yeah, so it samples the terrain under it, and I'll show you some of the other pieces actually from the other canvases as I do the demo. So now I'd have like, you know, I've got pretty cool. I connected those two sides of the map, and I've got that pretty simply built. And then now we'll take like the base that I built. So I built this cool little base out of a lot of our primitive pieces and some of our structural pieces and accents. So I can just take that as well. I can duplicate that, and now I have a piece of that as well.
And now your map is done.
I mean, can we talk about how long that would have, I mean, to do all of that, again, would literally require, in previous forges, a piece-by-piece build.
It's brutal. It was brutal, and like we weren't a fan of that. We wanted to make everything kind of fluid and fast, so I flipped that around 180 degrees.
And that is 100% symmetrical, right?
Yep, that is 100% symmetrical. And then so I've got precision. And, you know, you can move it around pretty quickly by, like, boosting it around, which is another way you can move. Or I can, you know, if I want to be really precise, I can move slow movements and stuff like that. So I'll just kind of line it up roughly to where I was. We're not going to actually play this today, so I don't need to be perfect. So that's pretty cool. Now we've got a base.
Now you have a map that's symmetrical.
Yeah. And then basically what you'd want to do from there is, okay, I can take this object, even though this is multiple objects combined together in one group, I can go to the object properties and treat it as if, you know, I can edit the properties as if I'm editing one object. So we're going to go into the colors, and right now there's multiple colors to each of these. And so I'm going to flip this over to base 2. And you notice that basically the whole base just went blue because the secondary colors were mapped to that.
Right.
So that's pretty cool. And then, so this is what we call reference colors. And so this is the base reference colors for base 2. And so what it can be is like, oh, my map, I'd like to make, you know, I don't like this blue for my base 2. So I can go to our maps options, which is like, this is the stuff that gets stored out with the map settings. So this is like how you can change your lighting theme. You can change the different types of fogs. You can change your clouds, the winds. Like, oh, there's so much like weird little details that we buried in here. But then I go, you know, let's change my base 2 reference color. I'd like that to be, you know, a little bit darker. Kind of gives it a little more mood. Or, you know what, I don't like the the wall color. So let's play with my walls and find something that I like, and then maybe get my floors maybe a little bit different color. So I mean, I didn't make a real noticeably cool change there, but again, I changed something quickly, and then because they're all referenced, again, like it references over on this part of the map, and I can just change the map really quickly.
And if you wanted to have those on independent, right, you could
Yes.
just change the reference.
Yeah.
to those.
So yeah, I could just go through and actually individually assign each of the colors on them, and a lot of the objects have 3 different colors, which is kind of cool. So you can really personalize each piece.
We tried to make it so that almost every object that you can use in Forge has the color selection to some extent.
Even gloss, there's a gloss
yeah.
and matte values that we have on most of them as well. It's just, we just want to, again, just give personalization.
Yeah, and the nice thing about the reference colors is when you have, I mean, we have what, 120 colors now?
Well, I mean, actually, here's a perfect
Oh,
spot
here
to
we
show
go.
you.
So yeah, we have here. This is great. This is showing off like these are our color palette for Forge right now.
cool.
We have all of these colors, and so it's really nice to be able to set a reference color so that you can be like, I want my walls to always be this shade of gray or this beige, and then from there you never have to worry about fumbling through and trying to find that specific color every single time for every piece. You can just set it once and then have that as a reference color and kind of forget it and be like, oh,
set it and forget it.
Exactly. Set it and forget it.
We should trademark that. Yeah, I mean, this is actually how I organized the colors in the game. Is actually I just started placing blocks. We had the 128 colors that we wanted to use, and I just started to organize them to kind of make them have a flow. But I know it's kind of fun to just look at this kind of big palette of colors that you have at your disposal.
Right.
So I don't know, Forge has never had that many options in it, so we'll nuke that and move on.
Absolutely, yeah. I think, let's see. Oh, it sounds like we have, Jay, go ahead.
We do have some Twitter questions, internet questions, I should say, that are coming in. That I think is actually, this first one is pretty fitting for what we're talking about right now. This is from Reddit user, The Real Kids Today. What gave the team ideas for some of the new features that we've been seeing in Forge?
I mean, it came from a lot of places. I mean, we started a lot by kind of trolling forums and, talking to you guys, like, what do they want, right? And we really started our list with that.
Watched all the YouTubes.
Yeah, lots of YouTubes. And then, put on my game designer brain and really just sat down and I started the industry as a tool programmer, and so I was really fascinated and kind of obsessed with making really forward-facing tools. And so how can we make it friendly? How can we make it fun? And just really started this big giant blue sky document and then whittled that down to what can we do in this time frame that pushes Forge ahead, and that's what we really aimed and focused on.
Yeah, I think that first meeting that I remember having with you guys on the team maybe 2 years ago.
Yeah,
when
it
you
was
first
a long
laid out,
time ago.
When you first laid out, hey, here are all the pieces we want to do, and we want to redo everything. We were just like, oh damn, this is this is going to be new.
Yeah, it was pretty crazy back then to just think all right, blue sky, what do you want to do, Tom?
Yeah,
and he's like, here's everything new.
I mean, just speaking about pieces, I mean, that's kind of where we're actually at in the little demo I built here. So, my first goals were really kind of making the ultimate building block palette, and so we have. I mean, these are just a couple of. This is one of each type of the primitives we have. So there's blocks and triangles and trapezoids. There's rings and different ratios of rings and cylinders and stuff like that. So these are really your kind of core building pieces. If you don't have an accent or a structure piece, you can always find something in here that fills your gaps. So that was kind of a good. Those are good simple building tools. And then that leads more to our structural pieces. Wow. And this is just, again, this is just a small smattering of them. These are different kind of what we call accents that have a lot of different kind of kit bash ability. You can flip these around in all kinds of different directions and make different uses. This one I use all the time for walls, but you can use it for just a little piece of a tower structure and just keep adding onto it and shoving stuff into it. But there's a lot of different details in here, from even just columns. We just built a lot of stuff.
Right. Yeah. And how many? What's the object count? I think the final object count was over 1,700.
It's over 1,700.
And counting.
And probably counting. Yeah. And that doesn't necessarily include all the variants of a warthog and stuff like that. It's pretty that's the base level list.
Right.
So. Yeah, I mean, then there's we made bridge pieces instead of just making you use blocks. We made specific bridges and different types of railing and covers that you can put on them, or we have different stairs and stuff like that, and wedge pieces that if you use our new magnet system right here, you can just snap those on nice and easy, and they're all systemically thought out and built that way. Or the railings, you just snap them on, and then you have your railings kind of built really quick and easy.
And speaking of the magnets, this was one of the cool things about having the cartographers come out is they started using the magnet system, which was more or less still the H2A one at that point. And they were really struggling with it with our system.
It was bad.
It was bad. And so Ben Walker, the dev, he kind of went into his little cave for 2 days and came out suddenly with this whole new smart magnet system that kind of predictively shows you where it's going to be, and it doesn't snap until you let go, so you can make sure that you have it exactly where you want.
And you can target like where you want it to go.
You can target which points you snap it to.
Right.
We kind of work to try and increase the precision on the object so that it doesn't have like weird missnaps as much and all that.
And it really helps with pieces like this. Like these are pieces, these new trim pieces that we came up with, which are just really cool little modular pieces where you can, again, just kind of think about kit bashing them in different ways. Oops, I flipped that to 90 degrees. And then like, oh look, now I have a different kind of awning or building structure. And they're super simple to use. And I don't know, that was kind of a goal, is how many different ways can we possibly use an object?
Yeah.
So.
And speaking of, I think maybe a good time to talk about FX, sound, and that kind of stuff.
Yeah, I mean, there's more. I mean,
wait, there's more pieces.
There's always
more pieces. So yeah, so these are more natural pieces. So these are rocks from Alpine that we just didn't use. And then there's the asteroid kind of palette down there. There's also different trees and things like that we have. And these are things that we'll just keep kind of adding to along the way.
Yeah, and we actually saw, I think, one of the first uses you showed me, which is really cool with those rock pieces, actually building full tunnel systems, right?
Yeah, you can build all kinds
of
stuff.
You can actually build structural systems with those, yeah.
And then so you can see, like, so these are actually from Alpine, but we had this mentality of, like, any object, any map. So even the Alpine pieces, which do the same projection mapping that from the Alpine terrain sheet, you can use those in Glacier if you want to. And sometimes we do mismatch them, like in the shade if it's on Alpine.
Quinn did that really cool thing on Alpine where he added different snowbanks and Glacier terrain pieces to make it look like it was thawing in the spring. So anywhere where there were shadows from rocks or buildings, he actually laid out then more snow on top of it, so it like added that layer of depth and kind of made it feel like a custom one-off environment.
So yeah, and then now we're into like props, right? So we got some different animated props, and we got some giant cargo containers with different variations of open, close. The door is a different piece you can snap on. There's a vehicle size ones that you can stick a warthog into if you actually wanted to. There's various exploding props, and you can even change colors on these things, which is kind of cool. Like, just again, customize everything to make it personal and yours. So like, I could make an exploding barrel that's black if I wanted to, right? Make it fit your level. Different signage. Different interactive terminals, and like even we put some invisible objects in here. Like this is a switch you can hit for scripting, but like, so if I drop, but it's invisible in the game, you don't see it.
Right.
So it's just little things like that, or like even adding it so that like the stuff that is invisible at runtime, when I drop in, I don't see it. Oops, it's kind of hard to show here.
Yeah, this isn't the best way to show it, but that is a really cool thing that we came up with. Is we tried to make it so that when you went into Spartan mode to test things in Forge. All of the things that you wouldn't normally see in Slayer now automatically hide, so you don't have to worry about running around and seeing spawn points
running
and
over those,
all of the like named
cameras
location volumes and all of that stuff. It only shows you kind of what the output would be.
That's so rad.
I was like, saw that object and I was like, I must steal that for Forge.
Yep.
I mean, vehicle props. TV screens, because you got to have lots of TV screens.
And the TV screens are cool too, because you could combine a TV screen, which you can then color to give it a color that would glow, and then you could on top of that add an invisible button, and then suddenly you could have them go up and interact with the TV to do something in the game.
Cool. Or even have a green screen on the TV, whatever it is.
Yep.
Right?
Exactly. It gives a lot of options.
I mean, there's even actually literally green screens. We put chroma screens. It's something that the machinima community can really use, and they're actually even better than just green screens, because if you want to have a yellow screen, or you have that option, you can just change these to whatever you want. Like super versatile. They're fun because you can actually fly through them, so you can actually do like special effects and things like that, which is cool. Even invisible blockers. This is something that like the community's been begging for. He loves these things.
Griffball community loves those invisible barriers.
And again, they hide at runtime, but like you can see them when you're forging, so they're super useful. Fun toys. There's the piggy.
These guys were just introduced today, I believe, officially.
Timmy's been announced for a while. Olive is a new addition.
Named? I think today might have been the day that
Timmy the Whale.
Timmy, I think publicly was named today.
Yeah,
we called him Timmy for a while.
But we now we can show off Olive finally.
And then she's actually part of lore, which makes me excited, because I actually have a pig named Olive, and that's how she kind of came about, and we love her a lot. So my kids are going to be excited that Olive is now part of Halo canon.
Crane is another big one that I know the community guys have been wanting for a long time.
And it was just something we stole from a map. And what's cool is this thing's all just modular. It's actually multiple pieces. So you can kind of kit bash it and make it do whatever you want, which is rad. We have even just glass. Like this is something that the cartographers really want in the community. And then the cartographers didn't have it when we were here, but we've actually added color change to it, which is super cool.
Yeah.
More personalization.
You can tint the glass. You can make it more opaque, more like less, more transparent. Kind of have a lot of kind of one-off control.
And and more importantly, not one but two
cones.
traffic cones. So we definitely have improved Forge
with color change
and color change. So yeah.
So not only does 2 cones come, the cone emblem's also coming in this update. So this is like a big update for the cone.
For the cone. The cone's really getting its own Halo history.
Hashtag cone back.
Yeah. Breakout pieces, all very modular. Like even the pieces to fit on the hypotenuse of a I know it's a nerdy word, but like we made shield pieces so that they would snap perfectly. Again, it's just really the best building system we could think of.
Right.
Decals was another way to kind of personalize things. This is a small kind of sampling of them. We have a lot of different sizes and shapes, and I know they're really fun. They add a lot of personality.
You
to
can just
levels.
kind of put those flush against
anything, and it's cool because they eat the texture the texture behind it, so it makes it look like it's totally seamless.
And then I mean, even we didn't. I mean, again, we touched everything. So we even took like old things, like the shield barriers and stuff before. So these, like, if you're on the blue team, you can walk through them, which is cool. But the red ones I can't walk through, but I can shoot it out. So like just having little gameplay features. We blow through the thing. Okay, good. I blew through it. So now I can walk through it. Like just adding little gameplay elements, or like the teleporters. Like how did you figure out which way you came out of them? So we added a little arrow to show you where they come out. And then so if I drop, boom, I can pop over to the other one, and you can see this is an invisible one. And you can see we use a lot of iconography. So they're kind of clear and transparent. We call that ghosting, and that's an object that's not going to be there at runtime. So I can just, again, walk and use those. And you can hide them and do your own kind of special effects with them.
Right.
Or even like man cannons were another things before. You used to have to kind of fiddle with them a lot. So we just made them
they only had preset kind of like strong, medium.
And so these, you can actually, let me ungroup these real quick. I could actually grab this and tune the different parameters to like control, oops, let me pop out of there. So like how far does it go? Right, I can change the
and
arc.
You get the trajectory.
Yeah, which is cool.
So
it's
sweet.
A lot of fun.
I did not know about that.
It's super cool. And then even down to things, these are kind of hard to see, but like kill volumes and stuff, we put a lot of iconography on them so that they showed up really easily to see.
Rather than just these big boxes that are kind of see-through.
Yeah. And so they kind of tell that each of them has a little bit of a story and colors to kind of give you some idea of how
quick
it works.
reference, right? Yeah. Like I think Pro Forgers right away will know exactly what.
And on the building side for those sort of volumes, we did a really cool thing where you can set to always show your volumes, show them when you trigger over them, or if you're not really caring about volumes right now, you can set it to always hide. So as you fly around, it won't turn them on and off as you're trying to build. To just give you more control over what you're doing.
Sure. Which, when you were at a Final Forge map, hovering over those barriers was.
There's no reason to have that at that point. So you can turn that off if you want.
Or if you're laying your kill volumes out, you can turn them all on and see like, oh, that whole space is my space.
Right. Cool.
Yeah.
So one of the other features that's kind of cool is one of the things in Halo 4, every time you wanted to bake lighting, every time you tapped down, it would do it.
Generate lighting,
so we changed it so actually if you tap down, you can just drop in. But if you hold it down, it will actually bake the lighting.
Full lighting.
So that gives you kind of a little more freedom to just kind of test versus actually like building to make sure you're getting something pretty.
Right.
So I get the lighting bake here to finish.
There we go.
Okay. So now I'll show you one of the enhancements we did to groups is this idea of welding.
Yep.
And so there's Timmy and Olive, and this is one of my favorite things to do is put effects emitters.
We saw in this morning's video too.
We love putting sparks on their eyes.
Pretty much out of everything. So like if I took Olive here and I made her physical, you see the effects emitters just pop out of her eyes. And if I went over, even though she was a group and I knock her down the hill, sorry Olive, the effects emitters would still be on the ground, and they flew through the floor. So they're right there. But like now we have this idea of welding. So I can take like Timmy here, and if I make him normal physics, oops, I got to put him to phase. If I weld him, and then I set him to normal physics, this is the welding thing that people are so excited about. If I do this, now when I knock Timmy down, you'll see the effects will follow him like attached to his eyes.
It treats it all as one object.
So that's kind of cool, right?
Oh, certainly, yeah.
I know we can do it. That's something we'll just keep enhancing as we.
Yeah, I mean, some of the stuff you were showing us before release, even over the summer, was like welding these big like wheels that are attached to cranes that are like I think the mini game potential.
Yeah, there's a lot of potential for that stuff.
It's pretty rad to keep those objects together.
So you can see like I just wanted to make this area kind of moody, so I made like effects emitters of steam and smoke along the way. And then, so this is kind of the last area we'll show you. Is so this is kind of simple scripting thing that I did.
Actually, that's perfect timing. Actually, from Waypoint, Cam Ferg wants to know what new scripting things can we do in Forge?
So we've started basically a new scripting system where you can objects can send events and messages to each other, and then they can basically respond to those and perform an action. So they're conditions and actions essentially. And so like on this little terminal here, it has on interaction set the power to Zulu, which is one of our power channels. And you can just toggle it back and forth. And then the door here watches for. Oops, that's the wrong piece. I selected the wrong piece. Where's the door? There it is. It's in there. On. It's kind of hard to see here. On power state, Zulu. On move up. So it moves itself up, and then on off it moves itself back to where it came from. So this is the start to like. I'm obsessed with scripting. I think it's the way that people can really change the expectations of a level and map. And so this is something we're going to go crazy with as we keep building and do a lot more with it. So I mean, it's pretty simple right now, but there's a lot of, but it's pretty powerful even with just what's there.
Yeah, we even saw people doing incredible stuff. I think it was Halo 4's extraction, where they would wait for an extraction point to be extracted so that the extraction art objects would release and a new part of the map would open, right? But now people can just do all that.
We want to try to get, I mean, I love the Rube Goldberg stuff, and we want that stuff as well. I mean, I guess we really want everything, but that's my designer nature. But we want to make it so a lot of it's just easier to do, right? Instead of having to set up these crazy machines, it's just let you build them and do them.
Yeah, absolutely.
And then interiors were a big pain in the butt before, and so we actually have real lighting now. And so like this is actually a light in the room, and you can see like it has a nice fall off. And when I bake the light, so it kind of loses, it gains shadows, it gets into the corner. And there's a ton of parameters on them to really control how they behave. So as I go into the next room here, this one's more strobing and flashing, a lot moodier. Feels like a classic
horror film,
horror
sci-fi
kind of
horror.
Yeah. So you can bake this into your level. Or if you really want to get a little crazier, you can start playing with the gobos, which projects textures down. And so, you could have the crazy like sci-fi room, which if I walk over in here, like it will start projecting and casting on my gear and stuff.
Oh, sweet.
Or, you could have your pulsing nebula. I don't know why you'd have that, but you could totally have that. And they're all just, these are all just little objects.
And those are all just lights that are placed.
Yeah, like even that one has just, that has to have the, it has the, why am I forgetting what that's called right now? The lens flare on it. You gotta have a lens flare and stuff like that. And there's tons of different options for lens flares.
You have individual light control over lens flares, so you can make each light behave differently with
like
lens flare.
In this room, I kind of went nuts with it. So like if you were making a William Rieflin movie, like Only God Forgives or something, you could,
or J.J. Abrams.
J.J. Abrams, you could do this. And so like there's the Abrams kind of style.
There's the Abrams lens flare.
Just full lens flare max.
And these are actually just objects that we have so that you can set dress with them as well, but then they feel kind of more grounded in your environment. So you can use like the invisible ones here to really just kind of light your levels like a lighter would do. But these really kind of make it more natural and organic, and then you can again change the gobos, and we have different types of effects and stuff on them, or you can play with all the 128 colors on them. Add different, like that one kind of strobes and pulses, and then that's like, we call that blacklight color because that's like the actual color.
It's kind of like your floodlight outdoor industry.
So like floodlight, but so it just again Forge has tons of different ways to personalize everything.
It does, man. Absolutely.
Yeah, it's pretty crazy.
Cool, absolutely. I think I'm taking a look at my list, and I think we...
Oh, I got one more.
Do you?
One more Twitter question.
Okay, go ahead.
Yeah,
before we head out, I'm still just kind of soaking everything in, honestly.
Yeah.